It was a Thursday. Cloudy, humid, and slow. I remember because I was folding laundry on the living room floor and the kids, Madison and Caleb, were giggling over a cartoon with the kind of innocence that used to make my chest ache with pride. And then she said it. "I'm leaving, Jake." I looked up, confused, thinking she meant for groceries or to visit her sister. "I mean I'm leaving you. I'm done pretending." Lauren stood there by the kitchen island, her arms crossed, suitcase by the door, and not even a flicker of emotion in her eyes. Just cold distance. "You're joking," I said quietly. She wasn't. 2 weeks later, she moved in with him, her co-worker Marcus. A guy who once gave me grilling tips at our 4th of July party. The same guy who said I was the kind of father he wanted to be. I guess he just wanted my whole life instead. Lauren left without a second glance. No custody fight. No goodbye letter to the kids. Just vanished. I tried to explain it to Madison, who was 6, and Caleb, who still called apples appies. "Mommy's on a long trip," I told them. But kids are smarter than we think. They stopped asking for her by winter. I rebuilt everything. Worked 2 jobs. Learned to braid hair, pack school lunches, and survive on 2 hours of sleep. I became both parents. And somehow we found a rhythm. Then, 8 years later, like a ghost from a past I buried, Lauren called. "Jake," she said, her voice softer now, more brittle. "I need your help." I almost laughed. But then she added, "It's not for me. It's for my stepson. He needs stability. A father figure. I thought maybe you could help." I swear to God, I didn't say a word for a full 10 seconds. I just stared at the phone. And then I asked slowly, "You want me to help raise his son?" Her silence said everything. And right then, something inside me shifted. She walked out once. Now she wanted to walk back in? Oh no. Not this time. Not without consequences. Cliffhanger. I opened my laptop, typed in my lawyer's number, and hit send. I hadn't talked to my attorney Julia in years, not since the divorce. But when I explained what Lauren had asked of me, she actually laughed. "Let me get this straight," Julia said. "She abandoned you and your kids. 0 contact. And now she wants you to co-parent her new husband's son? That's the gist of it." She paused. "Do you want to help her?" I shook my head. "I want to make sure she never has the option to screw up my kids again." Julia's voice lowered. "Then we file for full legal custody. Retroactively. And if she tries to spin this, any of it, we have years of abandonment and 0 financial support to back us." I hesitated for just a second. Was I doing this out of protection or revenge? But then I thought of Madison's quiet tears the night of her first dance, when Lauren didn't show up even after promising she would. And Caleb asking if Mommy forgot us. I clenched my jaw. Do it! We filed the petition that week. Sole custody, termination of joint parental rights. And then I started gathering everything. Photos. Emails. Texts she ignored. School records that never once had her signature. My kid's pediatrician had never even seen her. I didn't expect her to fight it. I thought she'd sign and be done. But when she was served, she showed up at my door. In person. She stood there on my porch like we were in some cheesy Hallmark movie. "What the hell, Jake? You're suing me?" I opened the door wide, calm. "You asked me to raise another man's child. I think I deserve the right to protect mine first." Lauren blinked. "This isn't what I meant. I thought you'd understand." "Understand what?" I said, my voice sharp. "That you need me now that your new life is inconvenient?" She looked away, swallowing hard. "You were always the better parent." "Yeah," I said, stepping back. "I know." And then I shut the door in her face. I thought that would be the end of it. But 3 days later, I got a notification. She'd hired a lawyer. Cliffhanger. I turned to Julia and said, "Looks like we're going to court after all." Courtroom was colder than I remembered. Lauren sat across from me, her blazer too crisp, too put together, like she was trying to play the role of someone she hadn't been in years. A mother. Her attorney stood beside her, leafing through paperwork like this was just another Tuesday. Meanwhile, Julia sat calmly next to me. She leaned in and whispered, "Don't react. Let the facts do the talking." I nodded, but my heart was pounding like a war drum. The judge looked up from the file. "Mr. Hammond, you're requesting sole legal and physical custody of both minors?" "Yes, Your Honor," Julia answered on my behalf. "On the basis of willful abandonment, emotional neglect, and a complete lack of financial or parental involvement for 8 consecutive years." Lauren's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, Ms. Monroe did not abandon her children. She was suffering from clinical depression after a difficult marriage and made the difficult choice to leave in order to heal. She's now stable and willing to reintegrate herself into her children's lives." I wanted to laugh. Reintegrate? That word didn't even belong in a family setting. "She left them," I said. "Quietly. They cried for her every night for 2 years. She never called. Never sent a letter. And now she wants to be seen as someone she never was." The judge looked at Lauren. "Ms. Monroe, why did you not contact your children all these years?" Lauren's eyes filled with tears. "I thought they were better off with him." "And now?" the judge asked. I miss them," she whispered. "And Marcus's son, he's struggling. He needs structure. Jake was always good at that." There it was. The truth. She didn't want her kids back. She wanted me, the version of me who would make someone else's life easier. Julia stood. "Your Honor, we have documentation of every school year, doctor's visit, emergency room trip, and milestone in these children's lives. Not once has Ms. Monroe appeared. This isn't about reuniting a family. This is convenience." The judge nodded slowly, taking notes. Lauren turned to me during the recess. "You're really going through with this?" I looked her dead in the eyes. "You didn't care when they needed you. You don't get to care now that you need me." She started to say something, but I walked away. 'Cause I wasn't there to argue. I was there to finish what she started. Cliffhanger. That night, I got a text from Madison. "Dad, did Mom really try to take us back?" I stared at Madison's message for a long time. She was 14 now. Smart, sharp-eyed, with my stubborn streak and her mother's sarcasm, though she didn't know it came from Lauren. Did Mom really try to take us back? I took a deep breath and replied, "Not exactly. She wants me to help raise someone else. And now she's pretending to care about you both to make it happen. No sugarcoating. And no more pretending. They'd been through enough half-truths." Her reply came a minute later. "That's messed up. She doesn't get to do that." And just like that, I realized my daughter didn't want Lauren back either. She wanted clarity. So I sat both kids down that weekend. We were at the park. The same one where Lauren once took pictures of Caleb toddling through the grass. "Your mom reached out," I said, keeping my voice steady. "She asked me to help her with something personal. But now she's trying to say she wants to be involved in your lives again." Caleb's brow furrowed. "Why now?" "She has a stepson. A boy your age. She's asking for help from the guy she walked out on." Madison snorted. "Unbelievable. I didn't want to tell you like this," I admitted. "But I think you deserve to know." They were quiet. And then Madison asked, "Are you going to let her?" I looked at both of them. "No, I'm not." Caleb leaned against me. "Good." That night, Julia called. The judge ordered a mediation round before ruling. She thinks it might be good to let Lauren speak to the kids. It's optional, but she's pushing for it. "She wants to see them?" I asked. "She says she does." I stayed up all night. because part of me wanted to say no, to protect them from any more false hope. But another part knew if Lauren really wanted to face them, maybe they needed to see her too. So I asked the kids, "Would you want to talk to her?" One time. Supervised. "You can walk out whenever you want." Madison shrugged. "Let her say whatever. We've got nothing to lose." Caleb was quieter, but he nodded. We agreed to meet at the court-appointed facility on Friday. The day came fast, and when Lauren walked into that room, the kids barely recognized her. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not weak, just unsure. Madison broke the silence first. "Why now?" Cliffhanger. Lauren opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Lauren sat across from her own children like they were strangers. Caleb kept his eyes on the table. Madison crossed her arms like a wall she'd spent years building. I sat nearby with a court officer present, silent but alert. "I know I don't deserve to be here," Lauren finally said. Her voice cracked, though I couldn't tell if it was guilt or performance. "I was going through a lot when I left. I thought I was doing what was best." "You thought leaving was best?" Madison's voice was sharp, controlled. "Or was Marcus just more exciting than us?" Lauren blinked hard. "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that," Madison replied. "We remember. We saw things. Heard you on the phone when you thought we were asleep." I watched Lauren flinch like someone had pressed on a bruise. Caleb finally looked up. "You didn't even call on my birthday." "Not once. Not even a card." Her bottom lip trembled. I was ashamed. I didn't know how to come back. "You didn't," Madison said. "You waited until you had a new family. And then you came running to our dad because your life got hard." I'd never felt more proud or more heartbroken at once. Lauren reached across the table instinctively, but both kids pulled back. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I know I can't undo what I did, but I want to be part of your lives. Even a little." Madison stood up. "I think we're done here." "Wait, please," Lauren said. "I just want to help now." My daughter looked at her and said something I'll never forget. "We already have help. We had it when you left." And with that, she turned and walked out. Caleb followed, glancing back just once. Lauren was left at the table alone, her outstretched hands still hovering in the air. I stood and walked to the door, but before I left, I turned to her. "You asked for me to help your stepson. But maybe you should try being a parent before asking someone else to do it for you." She looked up, her cheeks wet. "You really hate me that much?" I shook my head. "It's not hate. It's closure." Cliffhanger. The next morning, the judge delivered her final ruling, and Lauren didn't even show up to hear. Courtroom was nearly empty when the ruling came. Just me, Julia, and the judge. Lauren didn't show. Not her attorney either. It was like she'd given up before the gavel even dropped. Julia leaned in. "This is what we wanted." I nodded, though part of me expected a final fight. A monologue. A last-minute plea. But no, Lauren vanished the same way she had all those years ago. Quietly. Cowardly. The judge adjusted her glasses and looked directly at me. "Mr. Hammond, based on the presented evidence, testimonies, and the emotional and physical well-being of the children under your care, this court grants you full legal and physical custody. Effective immediately, Ms. Monroe's parental rights are terminated." I let out a slow breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. It was over. Years of struggle, fear, doubt, and those late-night thoughts of, what if she comes back? Gone. I walked out of that courthouse into sunlight that felt different, like it belonged to me now. When I got home, Madison and Caleb were sitting on the couch, half watching a movie. I stood there in the doorway for a second before saying it out loud. "She's not coming back." Madison turned first. "For real?" Judge made it official. Caleb didn't speak. He just walked up and wrapped his arms around me. For the first time in years, I felt like we were safe, not just physically but emotionally. There'd be no more wondering, no more false promises, no more doors that might reopen. Later that night, I found an old family photo in one of the basement boxes. It was us, back when we still believed things would work out. When Lauren smiled with ease and the kids were too young to understand betrayal. I almost tossed it. But instead, I put it away in a sealed envelope, marked it closure, and filed it with the rest of the documents from court. Out of sight. Out of mind. Then came the surprise. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside was a folded note in Lauren's handwriting. It read, "Thank you for raising them better than I ever could. I won't reach out again. Tell them I'm sorry. For everything." No signature. Cliffhanger. I tore it in half, tossed it in the trash, and never told the kids it came. Weeks passed. Then months. Life didn't just move on, it grew. Madison joined the debate team and started bringing home ribbons. Caleb made the basketball team, and I swear, the way his eyes lit up when I showed up at every game, it made every court date, every lonely dinner, every night spent Googling how to raise a daughter completely worth it. One night, while we were all eating takeout on the living room floor, Caleb said, "You know what's weird?" "What's that?" I asked, biting into some way too spicy Kung Pao chicken. I don't really remember her voice. Madison looked up from her phone. Good. I didn't say anything. I just smiled. 'Cause that was their choice now. Not mine. Past wasn't a weight anymore, it was just a shape we walked around. But closure has a funny way of sneaking in just when you think the book is closed. Out of nowhere, Marcus, the man Lauren left me for, emailed me. Subject: a favor if you'll even read this. He explained that Lauren had left him 6 months ago, that she'd had another clarity crisis and walked out on him and his son, Devin. The same stepson she once begged me to help raise. She left us both shattered, he wrote. Devin still asks about her. I can't fix what she did, but I know you were always stable. I'm not asking you to raise him. But if you ever feel like talking just for him, he could use someone like you. I read the message twice. Then I deleted it. Because the truth was, I'd already done my time in someone else's war. This was my kids' chapter now. They had soccer games and school dances and late-night pancakes with whipped cream. They had inside jokes and holiday traditions and a dad who showed up. We even started planning a road trip across the country. Just the 3 of us. A kind of celebration of everything we'd survived. One night, as I was packing the car for our trip, Madison came outside. Hey, Dad. Yeah. She handed me a folded paper. It was a school essay. Title: The Person I Admire Most. I read the first line. He taught me how to trust again. He taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about who stays. I didn't get past the second paragraph before my eyes blurred. Cliffhanger. And then she hugged me and whispered, "Thanks for choosing us," when she didn't. We drove across 12 states that summer. From Ohio to the Grand Canyon, stopping at every roadside diner, silly photo op, and weird little museum we could find. Madison made playlists. Caleb took hundreds of blurry selfies. And me? I laughed harder than I had in a decade. One night in Utah, we sat on the hood of our rental car under a sky lit with stars. Total silence around us, except for the soft whirring of desert wind. Madison leaned back. You ever think about her anymore? I looked up, thought for a second, then answered truthfully. Not really. I think about how much she missed out on. Caleb chimed in, good. 'Cause we don't either. It hit me in that moment, not as a father but as a man, that forgiveness isn't always about the other person. Sometimes it's just about not letting them take any more from you. Not your peace, not your time, and definitely not your future. Back home, I hung a new set of frames in our hallway, photos from the trip. The three of us in front of a giant cactus, laughing by a motel pool. Caleb with ice cream all over his shirt. Madison mock arguing with a tour guide in New Orleans. No shadows of the past. Just proof of what we'd built. That fall, Madison gave her Person I Admire essay as a speech at school. And when she said my name, the entire auditorium turned to look at me. I didn't cry, but I did stand a little taller. Weeks later, I found an envelope in Caleb's room. Inside was a Father's Day card he'd bought early, written in his crooked handwriting. "Thank you for never choosing yourself over us." I taped it to my mirror. 'Cause for every wound Lauren left, my kids gave me something stronger in return. Stability. Gratitude. Love. I'd been broken once, left behind, forgotten. But I rebuilt everything. And the best revenge was not yelling, not proving her wrong. It was quietly raising two incredible kids who never looked back. She asked for help with a child that wasn't mine. Instead, I raised the ones who were, fully, completely, and without apology. And now we're good. We're free. We're whole.